Hey guys, welcome back. If this is your first time here, I'm Neil, the Adventurous Investor, and on this channel I talk all things investing, business, finance, and anything in that sort of nature. And big shout out to everyone that jumped in and liked and subscribed to the channel recently. Much appreciated, guys. It keeps me going on the channel. These videos take a fair bit of time and shagging around, so it's good motivation for me to keep going and keep doing these videos. Anyway, today guys, I'm going to be talking about how to get started in investing in property. Okay, this is if you're a beginner and you're a bit unsure on where to start and what steps you need to take in order to start investing in property, then this video is for you. Like I've said in other videos, guys, what you need to do is make sure you've paid off all that high interest debt, okay, before you even start thinking about investing in property. That's step number one. So knock off all your hire purchases, credit cards, car loans, anything that sort of has high interest on it, knock all that over before you start thinking about investing in property, because it's just going to be so harder to save for a deposit when you've got all this high interest debt there. So can't stress that enough. Knock that over and then start saving for a deposit. Okay, that's the next step, is you need to start putting all your money into a high interest account where you can start slowly growing that up and building yourself a nice little deposit that you can put on a property. Okay, I would start with around 20% of the property purchase price. Okay, so let's say you're looking at a $300,000 property, let's say. Then you're going to need 60 grand deposit, and then allow another maybe 5 or 10 grand for other unforeseen costs, cover the cost of lawyers, cover the cost of maybe a little bit of renovation work, or there's always some little niggly thing that you may have overlooked, or pay the cost for a builder to come look, maybe limb reports, any other sort of little bills like this. Make sure you've got all that squared away. So yeah, like 20-25% of the purchase price. Okay, that's going to be different depending on where you are in the world. It may be $500,000 price to get into the market. That's the average sort of home. So then obviously your deposit's going to need to be higher than the 60 grand. So aim for that 20-25%. Look, you see some videos and things out there where people say, oh yeah, you can invest in property with no money down and all this sort of, it's total bullshit. You're going to need money down deposit, okay? I don't know any way where you can invest in property without putting money down. If people try and say, oh, you put it on a credit card at a deposit, bullshit. I would not touch any of that, okay? Just save yourself a deposit and then put that into a property, okay? There's no sort of easy, quick, rich way to do this. You just have to physically save that money up, and then you can start negotiating with your bank about getting a loan and so forth. But yes, you need to start saving for that deposit. Whilst you're saving for that deposit, then you can also start looking online. This is a bit more fun, because then you're starting to look, okay, I'm starting to build my deposit up. What can I start purchasing with my deposit and the mortgage I'll get? So start running the numbers on a few properties online, start getting a bit of a feel for it. Once you start looking around a bit online, you'll start to sort of get a bit of a gauge on what a good buy is, what's not a good buy. And just sort of keep close tabs, even get on the email list of all the real estate agents. I even give them a ring and say, look, I'm looking at I'm looking at purchasing a rental property soon, at this sort of price range in this sort of area. Just give me a ring if something comes up, or send me an email, and then don't you worry, they will send you emails. I'm on the email list of about 10, maybe 20 different real estate agents. They send me weekly emails. It's annoying, especially if I'm not currently looking at buying a property in that area. They'll still keep sending me these annoying emails. Anyway, so start gaining a bit of exposure to it. Start sort of trying to learn a little bit about investing in property as well, just so you've got a bit more of an idea. And if you're looking at your first property, I would look at a cash flow positive property. Actually, all rental properties, I would always sort of stick with the cash flow positive. Something that the rent that you receive is going to be enough to cover the mortgage, cover the insurance, cover the rates, and cover a little bit of maybe repairs and maintenance. Okay, that's ideally, and then maybe even put a little bit of cash in your pocket at the end of the day as well is ideal. Okay, and this is from day one. This is not from 10 years after being paying your mortgage off. I try and achieve this from day one. As soon as that contract's signed over, I want this property to be paying for itself, and maybe even ideally put a little bit of money in my pocket. So that's what you want to aim for with your first property. So now that you're saving up that deposit, you're starting to get a bit of research online. Now let's say you've saved that deposit up, you've got 20 or 25% of the purchase price of a property in the area that you're looking. Then I would go talk to the bank. Okay, start with the current bank that you're currently banking with, or you can talk to a mortgage broker. Either. Both have their pros and cons. I've used both. They're both much of a muchness, really, to be honest. Unless you've got a good friend or something that's used a mortgage broker in the past, then obviously take their recommendation and talk to the mortgage broker, because they can sort of talk you through the finer intricacies of mortgages. They can be a little bit complicated, a little bit scary if you've never got a mortgage before, and it's good to talk to someone that sort of knows this area a lot better than maybe you do or your friends know. So it's always good to sort of talk to someone about this sort of stuff, especially, you know, you're talking about a large amount of money. If this is your first mortgage, you know, it can be quite a sort of scary, nervous sort of thing. Oh no, I'm signing myself up for $300,000-$400,000 worth of mortgage here, and it can be quite a confronting sort of scary thing to do. So I remember the first mortgage I got, I was buying a particular property. It was $215,000, and the mortgage, I had to put 30%. Yeah, the mortgage was for about 140 grand, and I was thinking, whew. And I mean, looking back now, I was like, what was I even thinking? But at the time, I was like, whoa, you know, I was humming and howling, 140 grand, and it was a bit of a, you know, process to go through. So go through that process, talk to the bank. Ideally, you want to go in there and you want to be coming away with pre-approval. Ideally, that's the rule. That's what you want to be trying to achieve after you've gone talking to the bank. So then you know exactly what your budget is, you know where you can start shopping and the price range that you're sort of shopping in. The bank's going to want to see a few things from you though. So get your paperwork in order. They're going to want to see, if you're an employee, they're going to want to see maybe the last 3 to 6 months of your pay slips, possibly even a work contract, so make sure that's all squared away, and ideally a full-time. They don't really like it if you're casual or anything like that, so make sure if you're going in there you've got all your pay slips. If you've been with the company for a long number of years, that will also help to your benefit as well, because you've got a good track record. There's no chance of you sort of getting moved on next week. They really don't like casual employees, so sort of bear that in mind. And also if you're self-employed, especially at the moment, finance is pretty tough. They're going to want to see at least a year or two of, you know, your last 2 years of tax returns if you're self-employed. They would almost favour you if you're employed over being self-employed. They attach a lot more risk to if you're self-employed, you know, your work could dry up or something of that nature. So they always want to make sure that you can pay back this loan. You just have to tick the boxes basically. Or you can go down the road of getting a guarantor that, you know, if you fall on your mortgage payments, they'll pick up the bill. But ideally you want to try and do this on your own. You don't want to have to go down the road of a guarantor. So I would start just making sure all your paperwork's in line, get all that squared away, go to the bank, chat to them, ideally come away with that pre-approval, and then you know where you're going. Also, one little thing you need to watch out for as well is your credit card. Let's say you've got a credit card and you've got maybe a $20 or a $30 or even a $50,000 limit on that. The bank will max that out and say, that's 50 grand that we're going to take off from you, even if it's back to zero. So reduce the limit on your credit card, okay, or even get rid of your credit card. It'll work against you, okay. So, well, this is in Australia and New Zealand. I'm not too sure about in other countries, but I know in Australia and New Zealand, they will take that, they will class it as you've maxed it out because you have the access to maxing that credit card facility out. So make sure that that's right, paid off, and then your limit might only be $5,000 or a few $1,000s. It's not going to make much of a difference, but if you've got a 50 grand limit on it, it can make a huge difference. So that's just a little something to watch out for. So let's say you've got your pre-approval, you're good to go. Now you want to start shopping around. Like I said before, you want to be going for those cash flow positive properties, good areas, good rent, you know, sort of areas that you know even quite well, or you know someone that knows that area quite well. And you want to sort of be looking for properties that's slightly below market value. You know, maybe be on the market for a little while, you've got a bit more leverage over on your purchasing price. And don't be afraid to come in with a slightly lower offer as well, especially if there's a bit of work that needs to be done. I wouldn't be looking at undertaking huge amount of work, like stay away from maybe if the foundations are gone or there's some structural work that needs to be done. I wouldn't be touching those properties, especially for your first one, unless you're a builder and you know your way around it and you know how much it's going to cost. You know, there's a lot of unforeseen costs and this sort of stuff, and it's money you don't see, especially if it's under the floor or on the roof. You're not going to see that come back. You know, whether it's a coat of paint, obviously, you spend $500 on paint, you know, you can put 20, 30 grand's worth on the value of the property, so it didn't go up like that. But, you know, if you start having to fix a roof or, like I said, the foundations are gone or something like that, then that's sort of dead money, unseen money. You can't even see it. You're just having to tip, and the bills can rack up real fast when you start having to get in contractors to do this sort of work. So yeah, for your first one, and also I'd get a builder to look over the property. Okay, so let's say you've got a contract on a property, the numbers work out well. It's got maybe tenants in place. You know what the rent's going to be. Then obviously get a builder to look over it, get another second opinion. Maybe check the LIM report, make sure there's nothing weird going on with the property or some weird like right-of-ways with neighbours or anything, that sort of nature. So make sure you have a really good, clear understanding what you're buying when you're buying this property, okay? And anything, you know, what's going on, what's the main employer in the area, you know, how's that sort of situation going on. That's not about to close up and you're going to have no one to live in your house. So definitely you've got to think of a lot of things when you're buying your first one. So yeah, a lot of things to sort of think about there. Once you've found a property, you've got a contract on it, It's probably going to take you about a month to 2 months before it actually settles. So yeah, just be ready for that. And then in that time, I would start talking to real estate agents in that area that manage rental properties, and then say, look, I've got if it doesn't have a tenant in place, if it has one that has in place, perfect. If not, then I would start trying to organise with the local real estate agents to get it managed, or you can manage it yourself. I recommend you put management in. It's a lot easier for you, and it's worth the 8, 9, 10%, whatever you may be paying in management. So that way it's a lot more hands off. They do all the screening, all the mucking around. If there's something wrong with the house, they ring you up and, you know, tell, oh look, but they'll take care of all the sort of niggly day-to-day sort of stuff that may be attached with that property, and you just get your monthly paycheck at the end of every month from the rent that they've collected. So that's pretty much it, guys. There's a very basic overview on the steps that you need to take to start investing in property. I'm going to be doing more videos on other reasons why I like investing in property. So if you want to see some more videos about, you know, investment or investing in property, then you know, subscribe to the channel and hit that like button. It'd be much appreciated. And we'll catch you guys in the next video. Cheers, guys. Enjoy the rest.